So we're joined today by Jorge Narvaez. You may remember him from the Ellen DeGeneres show and America's Got Talent. His cover song of Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros with his young daughter Alexa went all over the internet, over 30 million views on YouTube, and he has since turned that into being a social media activist. He has over 1 million combined followers on all of his platforms. His YouTube channel, Reality Changers, focuses on his family's love of music, community, Hispanic culture, and art throughout the world. He joins us today to share his immigration story. Originally from Mexico, he's in the United States as a lawful permanent resident, perhaps even a U.S. citizen now, and he uses his platform to advocate for social justice. We're going to find out all about Jorge's immigration story and what he's doing today. Jorge, welcome. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing, Brad? It's good to meet you.
So that must have been a whirlwind. You went from just doing like a cover song on YouTube, I guess, to being on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and all of a sudden you became this very famous guy. How did that all go down?
Honestly, it happened out of nowhere. I was finishing up my midterms at UCSD, and I was on my way to a meeting, and I get this call, and this is crazy because this is the biggest question of all. How did they get my number? I get a call from Ellen DeGeneres' manager and producer, and she's like, "Hey, we really want you on the show," and I'm like, "For what?"
Right.
And and I was freaking out because the video itself, I posted it just for fun. It's just me and my daughter singing a song, and a few days later, it went viral, and it was amazing. It was a life-changing moment.
Was this the first song you ever posted, or have you been posting songs a while? You had like a bit of a following, and then all of a sudden this one just took off?
No. I was just using my YouTube channel just to post random things, maybe some covers. It wasn't until I posted this video that everything just came out,
And then out of nowhere, Ellen sees this, I guess, or the producer from Ellen DeGeneres sees this viral video, and you're off to the races.
Oh, gosh, that's when it all started. I ended up on the show with my daughter, and, I told myself I wanted to keep it very, very simple. If we were going to perform the way we performed on the video, and we did. And it was amazing. Being on the show, my daughter was awarded a car, like a tiny Barbie car, and instead of her going towards the car to get all the prizes, all the dolls that were on top of it, she went straight to the audience. She was saying hi to everybody. She was hugging people, and that's the kind of thing that I loved about that moment. I was like, you know what? This is what it's supposed to be about. It's about family. It's about fun.
And that put you then, I guess, catapulted you to America's Got Talent. How was that?
From there, a light bulb hit. I was thinking to myself, hey, what if I could start doing this maybe more often, maybe posting more videos? I got reached out by Maker Studios, which is now part of Disney, and they said to me, hey, have you considered vlogging? I was like, vlogging? What does that mean? No, it's like video blogging. So I decided, I've discovered that I've been recording my kids since they were babies, and I've been kind of vlogging, so I just wasn't familiar with the terms because I wasn't really familiar with like the YouTube world still. And then more videos, we put more videos, and then we ended up on the America's Got Talent.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you originally did this, you were not a vlogger. You had an everyday job. What were you doing? I guess this is now your full-time profession is being a YouTuber, I guess is the term, or social media activist. I don't know what you prefer, but what were you doing at that time?
I was finishing school at UCSD. I was getting my major, my bachelor's degree, which I did finish. I graduated in June. I ended up being the first person in my entire family to graduate from high school and college. So I graduated with a degree, and then to myself thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? Should I go to grad school? Should I go to law school? I wanted to become a lawyer, I wanted to become a grad student, become a professor, maybe teach, maybe do some theory. I don't know, write a book. But then I thought to myself, the goal of what I'm trying to do in my life is to try to be as present as possible with my kids. And this is something I discovered when I started singing to them, and also just in general at that time in my life. So I was like, what if I take the opportunity of doing YouTube videos and risk it, see what happens? I did it. And unfortunately, I didn't end up going to law school, and I ended up going to start doing full-time YouTube. Through the process, through the 6-7 years of doing YouTube videos, a lot of crazy stuff happened, including America's Got Talent. I actually ended up getting back with the mother of my kids, and a lot of crazy things. Just an adventure, just of a lifetime.
Two things I have for you as a follow up to that. Number one, did you always know that you had talent, or were you surprised when you got a call from Ellen that somebody actually wanted you to go on a show, or did you always knew you had talent and you just didn't really pursue it, or was this something like it was just a shock to you? You want me to sing for you?
It wasn't until this happened that I was like, wait a minute, this could be an opportunity for me to pursue my passion, right? My passion is to sing. Now, passion projects aren't necessarily, something you pursue unless you're sure that it's going to help you, in the future. And I just decided to take the risk.
You said you got back together with the mother of your children. So take me through what happened. I'm sure it's a cute story. You got back on Ellen. All of a sudden, you're getting all this notoriety. Who reached out to who?
We got back together just a few years ago, but after being in certain relationships that were really good, were really bad, just learning from our experience these past 6 years of co-parenting and being parents, we just decided to give each other a second shot. She has matured a lot. I have matured a lot, and went through supportive counseling. She went through supportive counseling. We went through a lot of ups and downs, and we were almost married to other people too, which were wonderful people. But we both made a decision when we both were single. Hey, let's do this. We have a bigger purpose. Let's make this happen. I know this whole video thing happened out of nowhere, which was very, very unexpected. But let's make something out of it together. We've been through hell. We've been through all these things. We went through this amazing experience at the Ellen Show, America's Got Talent, a few awards, and then this whole immigration story, and then my mom. And I'm like, you know what? What's better than to stick together stronger? So we did the impossible. Come on. How many people do you know? Especially in your profession, who got back together after 6 years?
Not many.
After going through a legal custody battle.
Not many.
Not
many.
Not many.
And happily together.
Exactly. And it's not always happy.
And I think
I'm pretty sure.
I think the key word that you said was maturity, maybe.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Maturity and understanding each other's flaws and and appreciating each other's goodness.
So now this is, as you know, an immigration show, and we're all about helping people here. You have a pretty interesting immigration story yourself. I know that you're originally from Mexico. Do you know when you came to America? Do you remember when?
I wasn't conscious yet. I was a baby. This is from what my mom told me. My dad, during the 1980s, there was a bunch of amnesty going on. I don't know exactly what happened, but during that time, it wasn't that difficult to look for work and to just cross the U.S.-Mexican border. It was actually much to the border was a little bit more, open at that time. And my dad decided to come over and start working, and there were just not a lot of opportunities where she was at. So my dad and mom were basically forced to leave the Guadalajara, to pursue a better life, to the point where my dad crossed me over with him. My dad crossed me over. My mom had to cross the U.S.-Mexican border through the desert. So I was already here by 1987, I have to say. Right. 1987. And I've been living here since.
And your parents were here before that?
My parents were here before, but just like a few months behind.
Right.
We all came at the same time.
So do you remember when you got your green card? Do you remember when you got your permanent residence?
I didn't get my permanent residence until while I was in college.
While you were in college. When did you find out? Did you grow up not knowing your immigration status?
I did grow up not knowing what my immigration status was. I didn't know I was undocumented until I decided to look for a job while I was in high school.
Right.
And I was so disappointed, man, because, see, the thing is that this is something that it's just lack of knowledge and lack of education about the complexity of immigration. This is so complicated. My mom told me, I was like, hey, I'm going to start looking for a job. She's like, well, you got to be careful because you're undocumented. And I was like, what? What? Oh my God.
Did it just come out of nowhere? Just like, like you're having a Pop-Tart after school and she just blurts it out? Or was it like, I want to sit down and have a long, conversation with you about it?
No, not at all. It was very nonchalant. It was very, like just a very simple conversation, and my mom just said it like very bluntly. No, it's just you're undocumented. I just never had the chance to. And my mom really didn't. She never had the chance. She never had the money. She never had the time. She didn't have the support. So
and how did that make you feel? What was what was your feeling?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I was very disappointed. I was very angry.
Right.
I mean, here I am, a teenager, and at the time, I wanted to start working. I was in high school. I was, I think, a junior, and I'm getting ready to start thinking about college. But at the same time, I need my money. I need to start working. So why not? But unfortunately, when I found out, it was.
So you didn't look for the job. What did you do? How did you end up getting your green card, if I ask?
I ended up getting my green card with a crazy law loophole. Found out my case was open in the 1986 because of an amnesty.
There was an amnesty that there was it could have been probably as a derivative of your parent, probably.
Yes.
Because there was two amnesties at the time. There was one that was if you were here between 82 and 86 illegally and resided here between 86 and 88, you got a green card. And there was another one for special agricultural workers who worked on a farm for 90 days. And then there was family unity benefits for those people whose children were here prior to 1988. And you said you had come in 87, which is my guess of what happened. But I don't know. It doesn't matter. What most matters is you got your green card, and you certainly did fix yourself. So you had an issue, I read in the pre-notes here. You had an issue with ICE after you got your green card, and then you were working in a bakery, and then they came and ransacked your home anyway. What happened with that?
Woo! Man, that brings me back. Oh, God,
Yeah.
that was a tough time.
Yeah.
So I was already a permanent resident by then. I was already a permanent resident working at the French Gourmet. I was working there for a few years, and then there was a raid. There was a raid at the bakery, and about 15 men and maybe 3 women were apprehended for some weird reason. I don't know how. My name came up as one of the potential suspects of being undocumented.
Right.
So they tracked me, and they tracked me down to my address.
And you were a lawful resident. You're legal at this point.
Exactly. I mean, nothing can stop me at this point, right? I'm feeling invincible. I can work now, and so I'm on my way to my house, and then I found out that there was a raid at the bakery, and I get a knock at the door, and it's like a group of men, and like they're like military outfits and ICE outfits, and I see one in the balcony, just standing there. There's 2 in the door. And they're asking to come into my house. And I'm like, based on what my friend told me, if you really don't have anything to hide, I don't have anything to hide, so I'm just going to let them in. But I was concerned about the fact that they thought I was maybe going to think of running through my balcony because there was someone waiting there.
Now, let me give you some legal advice, okay? You don't have to let anybody in, and this is for everybody. If ICE comes and knocks on your door, unless there is a warrant from a judge, you are the king of your home. You don't have to let them in, whether they have something to find or not. It's like, I got pulled over. I was born in America. I've never had ICE come knock on my door, but I'll give you an analogy. I was pulled over a couple of years ago, and the police officer said, "Do you mind if I search your car?" And I know I have absolutely nothing in my car, but I know I have rights. I'm a lawyer, and no, you don't have a right to search my car. Period. Okay, because if I say yes, then they go and search. Just like if they come and knock on your door, it's like in the movies. May I enter? No, you may not enter, and they're not allowed, and you didn't know this at the time. You were obviously younger and less informed, and you just let them in, and they came and ransacked your home because you allowed
they came
them
into my house.
You said, "Come on in."
Unfortunately,
come on in. Right.
I mean, I really had nothing to hide.
It's not the point.
Nothing
right.
to
you
hide.
You have a right to privacy. That's what you have, though. You have a right to your own privacy.
And what's worse is that I don't think they knew that I lived on campus. I don't think they knew that they were on UCSD premises.
Right.
Which is very, I don't know, I heard something else after that too. But they came into the house, they went through my daughter's cupboards, they went through her clothes, they went through my clothes. And I just could tell, like, they weren't looking for people. I think at that point they realized maybe they had made a mistake, and maybe they were looking for something.
I think they.
What do you say?
I think they saw Mexican heritage, and they said, you're an easy target, let me go get him. And then they realized that you were a lawful resident. Or that maybe you were part of some conspiracy to bring immigrants into this bakery and, hire, something of that
I think
nature.
That's what happened. I think they thought maybe I was harboring somebody.
Right.
Which is weird, because if that's the case, why would they go in through my stuff? Why would they go through my things, through my cajones, through all these things? And it makes me think, and someone once told me, it's like, well, maybe they were trying to pin you with something. What if they found something on you, and maybe they could use that to say, hey, we're going to bring you in because we found this. Is that true?
Yes, it's very possible. And, like when you come into the airport, as an immigrant, when you come into the airport, they can look in your bags. They can look in anyone's bag. But, like, for example, if I know lots of people who come, I'll give you a perfect analogy, lots of people who come on visitors' visas or student visas, and they have emails on their phone. Maybe they have somebody offered them a job and say, hey, when you come back, I got this job on a weekend, waiting tables or something. They look at the phone, they're looking at your phone, they're looking at this email, and they say, aha, you're working. So they're looking for that diary note or a piece of paper that may lead them to something else. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Or now it's all about social media, looking at your social media when you come into the airport.
Absolutely.
Right. So now, did that make you, how did that end? How did that end, by the way? They left, they ransacked your home.
After they left my home, I was in shock. Right. And I still needed to get to class. And it's so ironic. I was taking a class about immigration. So here I am walking up to the classroom, and I'm supposed to be presenting supposed to be doing a presentation. So instead of doing my presentation, I told my class what had just happened to me. Right. Nobody could believe it. They could not believe it. And I started raising awareness about it at school. I got to talk to some officials as well. We ended up doing a press conference in front of the Geisel Library, discussing what happened and how inappropriate that was. And oh man, I mean, don't quote me on this, but what I found out after the whole mess was over, that ICE actually apologized, or they reached out to the chancellor and said, hey, look, we're really sorry about this. We didn't know that this was a school campus.
They violate people's rights all the time. And I'm glad that at least you bring this story out. They should have apologized to you. It's not the school. Your privacy was the one that was violated, not the schools. Your rights were the ones that were trampled on, not the schools. Yeah. But you yourself never got an apology. What did they say when they left your home, left your dorm room? Nothing. They just walked out?
No, nothing. They just walked out. They said, I don't remember exactly what they said, but it wasn't hostile. They weren't hostile. I think I saw their faces. You can tell they were like, oh no, like damn,
got nothing.
This might not be good. Yeah. So they left. I mean, I just want to make it very clear before I say anything else that that I understand how complex immigration is. I get it. I see the need of having reform. I just want to make it very clear that I am in full support of a very I'm in full support of immigration reform.
We are too.
However,
the right reform
in which that's right.
The right reform.
It's the way in which we do it, the way in which we treat people that are being deported, apprehended, etc. The way we treat people while they're already here, and just the complexity.
Yes. So do you consider yourself an activist? I mean,
absolutely.
you're on YouTube. I know a lot of your YouTube has to deal with being a father and how you're raising your children. How much activism, social activism, do you put into your YouTube account, or do you think about on a regular basis with your children?
I am constantly expanding my family's horizons. Does that make sense? Educating them about immigration, educating them about being good people, educating them about treating people better, and the way that some people are being perceived in our country. And I teach them that because it's a bigger conversation. Immigration is one of many pieces to the puzzle right now. And I think what I'm trying to teach my kids through my activism is for them to know that they can speak up for themselves as well. I have 3 women in my house: my mom, my wife, my daughter, and my 2 daughters, and I have my son. So the way I'm talking to you is exactly the way that I talk to my kids, and is exactly the way that I talk to my audience.
And how do you incorporate your Mexican heritage into all of this conversation? How important is it in this entire conversation?
I think my Mexican heritage is very important. However, it's more about honoring my roots about where we come from, and accepting that we have moved to a country, or we were pushed and pulled to a different country because of extenuating circumstances, and and because of those extenuating circumstances, it is absolutely important to remember and honor where our family comes from. It doesn't mean we're betraying the new country that we live in. It's just a reminder in a way to teach my kids compassion of other people's cultures, of other ways of living. Because once you're here in this country, and especially because my kids were born here, how do I teach them about what I've been through? How do I teach them empathy? How do I teach them what I've gone through and what other people in our family has been through? Well, teaching them a little bit of our heritage, not just Dia de los Muertos, but like little things like that. Not necessarily, oh, you have to speak Spanish. You know how many people cross the border over here and then they forget how to speak Spanish? That doesn't make him any less Mexican. It doesn't make him any less anything. Especially, it's more about just understanding the complexity of your culture and paying honor and paying homage to it.
Yeah, knowing where you came from, and this is where you are today. I think that's a nice way to put it, I would assume, correct?
It's not just about where you're from, it's about where you're going.
Correct. Now let's talk about where you're going. Okay, you have had certainly a lifetime experience so far. People, your immigration situation, becoming well known, instantaneously through the video that you put up on YouTube, being on Ellen DeGeneres, America's Got Talent. Do you feel, living the immigrant story, finding out you're out of status, now becoming legal, and now getting this fame and having over 1 million people following you on all of your different platforms? Do you feel you've reached the American dream? Do you feel you still need more to achieve to reach the American dream? What is your American dream?
My American dream is making sure that my kids know they can succeed in life. They can buy a house. They can become CEOs. They can be leaders in our community, whether they're going to lead a migrant community, or whether they're going to lead a digital company, whatever they do. My American dream is to educate and teach my family that they can do whatever the hell they want in this country, as long as it's good for other people, as long as it's not trampling on other people's rights or other people's cultures or other people's beliefs.
Jorge, I really appreciate it. Awesome. It was a great story. Yeah, I mean, you've lived an entire life. I don't know how old you are. You look like a young guy. You've lived an entire life already.
Well, I was a teen dad. I had already 16, man. And, I mean, because of what happened with my dad and domestic violence and my mom and all these things that I've been through when I was a kid, it made it easier for me to share my story and to remember that's what I'm doing here now. I'm not the richest person in the world. I may have all these millions of it's over 800,000 followers, but it's more about purpose now. It's more about like sending a message, and yes, educating the masses about what I've been through. I always focus on saying I, because it's so easy to say, well, this is how this thing goes, and this is how this, because we can be wrong, but I can hold myself accountable on my story. Like what happened to my mom, what happened to me with immigration, it really did happen, and my mom really needed to leave to cross the border. My mom needed to have me over here. I mean, come on, think about it. How many people really want to leave their country? How many people want to leave in general, unless they're pushed or they're pulled by some sort of circumstance? Nobody wants to leave. That's just
people leave because of fear, wars, or they're being persecuted, or people leave because they can't feed themselves and they have to go somewhere else to make a living. That's why generally most people leave. And your life, I mean, with all the hardships that you've overcome and the obstacles that were put in your place, your life could have gone 100 directions. And what a wonderful story that you're such a successful man today and have such a huge following and certainly talented and well spoken. And congratulations to you. It's a great story.
Well, congratulations to you too, Brad. I think the purpose here is that we are both people that we're in a position of power to raise awareness about something very important. You are a lawyer. You are here to represent people that deserve to be heard. That's what it is. I am a social media influencer, and I'm here to hopefully raise the awareness to people who are struggling with their voice. That's what it's about, right? That's what my sacred purpose is. I mean, I don't know about you.
My purpose is I want to help as many people as I can. If I can make everybody's life a little better, a lot better, somewhere in the middle. If I can get somebody from this level to this level, each and every
Absolutely.
person, as many as I can, that's my goal in life. Thanks for
It's
coming
about
on.
the community. That's what it is. Thank you so much for
Thanks
having
coming
me.
on. I really appreciate it. Thanks.